And once again, we are live from our studios here in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. This is home of fearless, credible, and independent journalism. Our top stories this hour. Heavy security at the Ghana Education Service headquarters as students who hail from the Volta region storm the premises, demanding withdrawal of a textbook said to contain bigoted content, despite an apology from the publishers. This afternoon, we hear from the Africa Education Watch, which is pushing for an investigation into the matter. Also coming up, execute them live on TV for the world to see. That is the call by families of the murdered Takrade girls who have been reacting to the conviction of 2 men for the kidnapping and murder of the 4 girls all the way back in 2018. My name is Kojo Yankson. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get started. We can't borrow anymore. We have to share the burden. That's the justification by government to Ghanaians as they introduce new taxes, which some have rejected, insisting they will impact negatively on their finances and increase their hardships. Now, the new taxes announced during last week's budget presentation include 1% COVID-19 levy, sanitation levy, and increment in prices of petroleum products. Some Ghanaians have been reacting, and they say the new taxes will increase their hardships.
I feel burdened, actually. These taxes are needless, I think. They are very, very needless. Putting pressure on us after the COVID, among other things, putting pressure on us is you are trying to break us down. I believe there could be other ways, other means of getting these things, and getting the ways of getting these taxes might come from other sources other than taxing we Ghanaians. Because we Ghanaians at this moment, people have lost their jobs. People are now they are just down. And you're going to put this thing back on us. It's putting more pressure on us, and I think it's needless.
There are some things that the government is supporting us a lot. Like me, the time I was in school, I went to school free. I didn't pay anything. So if they say we should do certain things, then I'm ready to pay.
Tax is one of the means of government raising revenue to develop the country. And over the years, that has been the method that they have been using. So we students and other stakeholders feel that if there's a better way of raising funds to develop the country, instead of always depending or taxing the poor citizens, something like the COVID-19 levy and some other 1% levy, I think is a serious burden on we the citizens. So if state authorities can look at it and have that better means of raising funds instead of always taxing us. Looking at, there are so many loopholes in the tax collection system, revenue mobilization. So I think that if they should rather, that's why it's good that the government is trying to bring the digitalization and also the connecting of all the ID cards, so that if there's a better way of even taxing the non-tax people. I think that if they're able to block those loopholes, it will help us. Yeah.
Because fuel, not to fuel. And so I was trying to get back into the country, and it's a about so any bring now experience.
Any bring now, Bamos.
What was our only bring area drivers? So if drivers we fuel now more to yeah, to fair him to be to fair passengers to Bakusa and to be able to fuel.
Great. So you're hearing him say that this is going to take a real toll on their operations. This gentleman is here, and he seems really incensed about the introductions that we've seen. I said, when in Nyamana course on home.
Because we are Papa any because I did send you fuel no mutumusa. See ya koto fuel. I did bet you we see atum. Odo galambako and I did say I did bet you never could say. and seems say DPR for na no mu eduma no so muntimi nkasa ma e omuna omuye mpanifo no omuna ombetimi aka say ya to fam ansa na yeso e be ye timi fa pen to fam DPR for na no mu eduma but it seems omo so omaye ko mo muntimi nkasa ma ya ma yeso ye bre isi eduma ye nyina e tofu e na ye de kawo na de akoma na asa ni abetina pan fimi si akra de say to no kra sa betuma kan ya kwan ne so sanye de chato kwan bia e be fa so bia anye kwan bia e be fa so bia anye isi ade ampo da ba for de say abane de yesre na abone ya ne de yesre no ofa e bone nche no so onhwe bi na ye bre ankasa ye bre.
So he makes a point categorically and really quite instructively that well, they've been paying tolls for God knows how long, but essentially the tolls that they pay do not translate into the betterment, or if you like, the improvement of the quality of roads on which they drive. And for him, he's made it quite categorically clear that for them, their impression of the current government is that for drivers, etc., and their mates, you know, they don't seem to have been considered by the government at all.
Let's learn some more. Here in the studio with us is Benjamin Yeboah. He is the National Welfare Officer, an executive member of Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA. Mr. Yeboah, it's good to have you. Now, your union doesn't seem to be taking these new taxes very well. Were you consulted?
Yeah, so good afternoon to your cherished viewers. See, that's where the problem is. We have that rapport with the finance ministry and with DRA. Unfortunately, we were not consulted on this, especially this 1% levy on VAT. See, VAT as a consumption tax. Immediately you increase it, it affects everything. Prices of goods and services goes up immediately. We would have thought that they would have met us, but even though they did not, we were given that caution that they should be careful they don't increase any tax. Why? Because we knew that per the rollout of these MBSSI, you know, COVID relief funds, a lot of people went for these TIN numbers, these tax identification numbers, and therefore meaning that now government GRA has a vast array of people whom they could relatively take some taxes from, therefore widening the tax net, meaning you don't really have to introduce any new tax. Then you introduce this one, because now you see what is going on. Now we are talking of the 1% VAT, the financial institutions, even though the 5% before profit before tax is going to help clear the problems. The fuel is actually going to check on sanitation, pollution, and all that. Even that is what these taxes are meant for. It has overshadowed what they were telling us. You see that they are suspending income tax stamp payment for small-scale businesses.
That's good, right? They
are suspending vehicular income tax for trucks. You see, they are not even talking about it, of their second, third, and quarter. A tax relief of 30% on corporate income tax for hotels, restaurants, education and entertainment, travel and tours. They are waiving penalty on interest on accumulated tax arrears up to December 2020 for companies and individuals. And there's even Maslog that's going to disburse some 50 million to small scale businesses. You see, immediately you increase tax, it overshadows these things.
So should GUTA not be pushing that message so that your members understand?
But it is not our job per se. That is why there's collaboration. That's stakeholder meetings. If finance ministry has taken us along that road, we would all have judged through that, spoken to our members, so that now it will be easier for us to explain to our members. Because now people will be looking at what is going to pinch them, rather than what they may even be getting. There's not even going to be still continuous free water, electricity for local consumers and all that. But we are not talking about it. So that's the mistake of government.
Now, the reality is that even though you may have identified a certain opportunity for the tax net to widen, the GRA will still have to find the manpower to do the work of finding these people and enforcing the tax laws and actually retrieving the funds. So is it not practical for an increase to be in some of the taxes to be implemented just to raise the revenue for GRA to then be able to mobilize and then practicalize the widening of the tax net?
Two things, Kojo. First and foremost, we were having this collaboration with GRA purposely to, sensitize our members in the need to, pay the tax, or they should pay their taxes regularly on time, and also to ensure that there is that understanding for they doing so. So we were having that rapport until COVID, came by. Still, it shouldn't stop it. There's still that avenue for us to do that. And then to this digitalization, what is it meant for? It's meant to, plug loopholes in certain areas that could help rake in more revenue for government. So they should have looked at these two things, and then we can all sit by the table and see how best we can fashion this thing out without necessarily, putting, and even if you should do that, then the communication and the education should have been even before the budget. Now there's going to be huge, burden on government and through her communicators, through the Ministry of Information, to try and educate Ghanaians and then to show cause in terms of figures, the justification why there should be an increment in these areas.
So if they had brought you to the table from the beginning, what would Guta's advice have been?
Now our advice would have looked at what they have now. Now, here we're having just about 1.5 million people on, government roll that they collect taxes from. What has TIN numbers done? TIN numbers now has brought in a wider gap in terms of those who are on TIN now that you can reach. So how would you be able to reach? How would you need our help as an association in terms of reaching out to all these people to take in something small? Rather, here you are, they've moved these people out of the tax net. You stop this tax stamp from smaller businesses. So you move them out of the net. So now the burden is now going to be still on the few who keep on paying. And I think if they had met us, we would have drawn the attention to these things. So that even if there are some leaves you don't even put in. Yes, the total people talking about the petrol that you want to increase to check that sanitation and pollution. They are not even talking about their second, third, and fourth quarter that you are relieving them from. So you could have stopped, let them pay that one, and then stop the levy. So you get your income from that one rather than putting in that few persons which will accumulate to bigger money though. But then, so that they don't talk, now they are talking. You see, now they are talking.
Is it too late? Can Guta not be brought in to the discourse about implementation?
Yeah, it's not too late, but then now the onus lies on government and its apparatus to try and come out with figures to show reason why and to try and convince us all, because as they convince us, then we have to go back to our members for them to understand. As a consumption tax is going to affect prices, unfortunately so. That is one thing we should all look at. It's like taking the thing from one person and giving it to another person. Not robbing, but taking it from Peter and giving it to Paul. You understand? It really doesn't play so well. It doesn't help government in its image. It doesn't help businesses because now we are all crying, even though there are some reliefs elsewhere. So I think they really did not get it right. If they had done the consultation right, we could have advised them on these sort of things. Yeah, we are Mokola, they say Mokola, what do you call it? Mokola economics. But I'll tell you, the Mokola economics at times really works if they are consulted. It's not late though. We can still continue with the consultation.
Now, I don't know if you, well, I'm sure you've heard it before, but whether you will accept it. There is a certain perception of Guta members, well, not just Guta members, but those of you who operate, in the marketplace. There is a certain perception that when reductions are achieved, when taxes come down or when certain levies come down, you never pass them on to the customer. But when there is an increase, immediately we see you increasing your prices, sometimes disproportionately. So for example, there's a 1% VAT increase. We're going to see more than 1% increase in the total price of the product, even though it's only the VAT that's going up by 1%.
It's not wholly true. The point is that we are in an open market system where the demand and supply comes to play. I mean, if the items are on the market, you as the seller, you can't just arbitrarily increase your prices. I mean, the other person will still maintain the prices and sell. But then if wholly prices go up from the importer or the supplier, it will affect all those in the middle chain, and they have to put it on, unfortunately. But then if it doesn't, the increment is not that much, someone has so much stock, and the person maintains his or her price, it will be difficult for you, the other person, increasing your price. So it's not wholly true that we do that, no. We are in business to make some income. If you go to the market, you sold nothing, what have you done? Your friend would have sold and made some money.
But the prices never come down, no matter what happens.
You will be surprised at times it comes down. If something comes down, I'll let you know this thing has come down in prices.
Yeah, I mean, if we take the welfare officer to inform us that the price has gone down before we know it, then it means
people reduce some prices.
Market.
Listen, people reduce prices for other reasons. Sometimes the person wants to take some goods out of the pot. He needs money. He or she can reduce the price. The person wants to clear old stocks. They reduce price. About so kind during Christmas festivities, and so they reduce their prices so they can make some market.
We're talking about the general price reductions. For example, the cost of fuel goes down. We don't see it reflected in the cost of goods.
It takes a while because the person might have taken some items when the price of fuel was at this price. If the items are still there, you can't at once go and reduce them. It takes a while, but it can still reflect if the price stays so. I mean, it's the normal demand, supply, and market, workings. It happens. It's just not true that people increase prices arbitrarily. No, it's not so.
No, not arbitrarily. What we're saying is that when the price
comes down,
it doesn't come down.
It will have its correspondent downward. And you should know that it's not a particular thing that will just generally like price come down. There are other forces that the person has to look at to be able to fix the price. But still the market syndrome will come in.
Right. So going forward, now that the government has expressed its intent when it comes to these taxes, by the way, government has been known to change its mind on taxes before. Does GUTA want that? Does GUTA want to put pressure on government to change its mind on these increases?
The point is that government, unfortunately, has a very strong tax in parliament, where it's almost a divided parliament. And therefore, they are not going to have it easy there. That's why it's always important taking the people along if you do something. Because if we, as businesses, traders, we support any move, it becomes difficult for our representatives in parliament to go against it. So I think the onus lies on them to try and explain to us or sit down with us. Let us start looking at the figures and for us to understand why so, why there wasn't any other alternative for them to do so, but rather stick to this increment. I mean, what you've just shown us is an ample fact that now people are rather talking of increments rather than the relief they've gotten. And that is human nature. I mean, unfortunately so.
I want to thank you for your time. We appreciate the enlightenment.
Right.
There's more to come. The Volta Region Students Association of Ghana today picketed at the Ghana Education Service demanding an immediate recall and destruction of books that have been widely criticized for containing what they describe as bigoted information about others. According to the students, they will embark on an exercise to find and destroy these books if the Ghana Education Service fails to heed their call. The publications, History of Ghana, Textbook 3 by Bedum Kansa Publications, authored by Bedum Kansa and Nelly Martinson Enim, and Golden English Basic 4, authored by Ochiri Berfi, have both been denounced by the National Council for Curriculum Assessment as not approved for use in schools. Kweku Asante has more. Here's his report.
In public uproar about a textbook that has been described as bigoted and putting out negative impression about others, the Volta Region Students Association, VOSA, are demanding action from the Ghana Education Service and the National Council for Curriculum Assessment. Here is Bright Achu Agbechise, a leader of the VOSA delegation that picketed at the GES head office.
Our chiefs and elders have actually intervened and they have asked us to, refrain from what we wanted to do today. But we as leadership have decided to take this step. Now, one of the publishers, Bedun Kansa, actually released a so-called apology letter yesterday. And the fact is that that apology letter is an eyesore to us. Why did I say so? How could you write an apology letter, and in an apology letter you are trying to justify how the books found their ways into the public domain? So they claim that, this is what they claim, that they were working on the books. GS are written to them for them to make some changes. Then they didn't know how the books found its way into the public domain. I don't know how that makes sense to any of you here. If an owner of a book and a publisher who is supposed to actually own whatever content that he has, found his materials in bookshops, and he's making money out of it, and at the end of the day, the person is now telling us that we are going to make what? We are going to conduct investigations into whatever it is. It doesn't make sense. It's the apology is an insult.
According to Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Eric Edemagbana, who accompanied the students to picket at the Ghana Education Service, there is an attempt by some to change the history of the country.
If in 14 days, our chiefs and our MPs and the stakeholders do not communicate to us a substantive evidence that indeed all the books have been withdrawn from the market and they have been burnt, we will go into shops, we will go and seize the books and burn it. So in 14 days, we can have this conversation again. We, the youth, will not allow anybody to change Ghana's history. What is all this political revisionism is about? What is it? What is the benefit? Why do you want to sow a seed of discord among the people of Ghana? We have lived together. We've lived in boarding houses. We attend the same colleges. We share dormitory with each other. You see my president, he's wearing smock. He's the president of the Volta Students Association, but he's wearing smock because through integration, we've come to accept that the food that we eat, the dresses we wear, and whatever, we are one people. Okay. Why is the government, through some publishers, trying to push some narrative down there? We will not accept it. So we are here to make peace. We are only here to make our petition known.
They also want the publishers of such materials to be penalized.
They have the tendency of creating some level of prejudice in the mind of this student at this young level. And if they grow up with this prejudice, it has the tendency of bringing about national disintegration, which does not augur well for development. And so there's the need for us to come out now and to stop this and to call out these publishers for them to be penalized. Because I've seen a letter from the publishers indicating that the books were not meant for the public domain, and so they cannot tell how come it's got its way into the public space. But it does suggest that they are unable to take responsibility for their work.
The Volta Region Students Association are calling on the Ghana Education Service as well as NACA to immediately get rid of these books in the system. These books that they've cited and are complaining that are portraying a certain image about the people of the Volta region, which is completely erroneous. They are saying that in 14 days, if the Ghana Education Service as well as NACA do not ensure that these books are in no books shops in Ghana, as well as no classrooms or any school, they are going to take certain actions. They are going to enter schools and seize these books, or enter bookshops and seize them and burn them. For these students, there are some lapses in the curriculum approval process, which must be dealt with immediately.
These are books, that has content that seeks to paint a particular, picture and impression about a particular group of people, specifically the people of the Volta region, that we are purported to be people who, foster ethnocentric tendencies, people who are inward-looking. That is not the impression. That is not the image of the Voltarian people.
Right, let's speak to Mark Osei. He's the spokesperson for Bidun Cancer Publications. Mr. Osei, thank you for your time with us. Hello, can you hear us, Mark Osei? Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for your time with us. Now, people say I am inward-looking and very tribalistic. Yes, it's true. This is in your book. You are describing the Ewe people. Where from this? How is this information academically verified?
Yes. That's why we have released a statement apologizing on that aspect of the book, especially page 15 of History of the Primary Theory.
So you are apologizing for putting that information in your book?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How did this mistake come about? Who made the mistake?
I think we have spoken to our writers of those books, and we as a company have tried to apologize on that matter. We don't want to comment it further.
Yeah,
because we do not have any story or any information to justify whatever came out on that.
Right. Now, you're the publishers. So when you received the script to publish and you saw this, you thought it was okay to go ahead with it, or did you miss it? Did you not see it at all?
Yeah, this is not a final product. This particular is not a final product. You know, before the book comes out, we go to a sales project, and we are of the view that before the initial stages, that's why this thing came. But it has already been taken off from the final work.
So you are saying that this was not made available to the public. How did we get to see it? How did it come into the public domain?
We printed a sample. And those materials found in the sample, and which has.
Yeah. So before you printed that sample, did you miss these particular remarks in the script?
Of course, they are in the script, and that's why we have released the statement.
So you missed them?
That's why we have released the statement.
I'm so sorry. The line is not very clear, so we're struggling to hear what you're saying. Are you saying that you missed them completely, or you thought?
I said that we approached the writers, and we asked them to take these things off. And I said, this is not a final project. This is not a final.
Yes, but it's a sample that you printed. Your publication house printed it. You read through the script, and you felt it's okay to print this in your sample. And I'm asking you, was it because you missed this comment, you didn't see these particular comments, or did you see them and thought it was still okay to print them in your sample?
No, I would not want to say we missed it, but we find it inappropriate.
You're not quite answering my question, sir. It must be one of the two. Either you missed it, you didn't see it at all, or you saw it and thought it was
okay. It's not inappropriate for us to, come justify whatever went on, especially on that, especially page 15 of the book.
Right.
And especially, let me also make this clarification. There are certain separations in the media. These are the two different stories. Ours is different from the golden subject. Ours talks about the song, and that's what we are dealing with. And the statement does not condone all those things, but since a lot of people are mixing the subject on those two books, ours is different from the golden subject.
Right. So at this point, you're going to withdraw the entire product?
Absolutely.
Right. And what sort of quality control measures are you going to put in place to ensure such a thing doesn't happen again?
We have already made as an organization, and we have decided to take the next action. These sort of things will not come because Bidun Cancer has been in the system for the last 24 years. We have not had issue with any Ghanaian, any section of this country. We believe in unity. So this thing coming out is regrettable.
So what's going to happen to the authors who have brought this this national headache on you?
The company will take appropriate sanctions.
What will the sanctions be? What will you do to them?
That will be at the management level when we meet, and we will communicate that to the public.
Okay, so in such a situation, what are the options of sanctions available to you? What are the?
Yes, I think obviously you work and you get paid. What we decide to dismiss you, then we will not work with you.
Okay, is that what's going to happen? Are you going to dismiss these authors?
Absolutely, we will do that.
Okay.
We will do that.
Okay, now we're joined on the phone by Kofi Asare. He's the executive director. Please stay with us, by the way. Mr. Kofi Asare is executive director, Africa Education Watch. He joins us via Zoom. Thanks for the correction. Mr. Asare, thank you for your time with us. Good morning.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, rather. Yeah.
Yeah.
And good afternoon to your cherished audience.
All right. Now, Mr. Asare, you've just heard the representative of the publishers saying they are sorry, they've apologized. They are also going to take measures. They're going to fire the writers, according to the representative. Is that sufficient for Africa Education Watch? Because you have been calling for an investigation into the matter. But sacking the author and apologizing, has that resolved the matter?
The apology is it's only a smoke screen because the authors are not the ones responsible for marketing the product. The authors are not the ones responsible for distributing, publishing, and marketing the product. It is the publisher. So the responsibility for content in the document is the publishers. The point is that the normal practice is publishers submit their samples of their textbooks to the authority, in this case NACA, for review and approval or otherwise. And so after queries have been raised about the content of your textbook, what you do is to go, you go and then incorporate, or you go and review your textbook based on the comments that were made by the committee, and then you bring a revised version. That's what you do. And every publisher that has been in this business for 2 decades appreciates this basic process. So what you take to NACA are just samples. In this case, we have picked up information that there were commercial samples even before there were commercial quantities even before the samples were taken to NACA. And so even when NACA raised issues about content and asked them to resolve them pending approval, publisher went ahead and then disseminated the commercial quantities that were existing even prior to submission of samples to NACA into the market. And if you know how publishers work, they work closely with the private schools. And so the private schools are one of the largest markets for publishers. Most of the schools using these books are private schools. So they manage to get private schools to impress on parents to buy them. And then parents also bought them, knowing very well that as far back as August last year, NACA had raised issues with content and have made recommendations which they had to incorporate. But because they had already published commercial quantities prior to submitting samples to NACA, they thought that they still had to make some profit. This particular action has nothing to do with an apology. It is a deliberate attempt by a profit-seeking entrepreneur to still maximize profits, even when the regulator has pointed out that the content of their product was injurious to the interests of the state. This certainly cannot be one that can result from an apology. And so sanctions must be meted out to the publishers if it is so established that they had the acquiescence, they had an idea, they knew that the books were in the market, on the market.
Kofi, who should sanction them? Which organization?
The ministry. This afternoon, we submitted our position to the minister. I had a brief chat with him. And then we indicated that it is the ministry that has the power to sanction the publishers. If the publishers are banned for, let's say, 3 years or 5 years from publishing, other publishers will take a cue from this behavior because what simply happened was that the profit motive overrode the public interest motive, especially when an agency of state, a regulator responsible for sanctioning textbooks, have raised issues about content. You don't go ahead and then ignore that regulator in the interest of profit. It is never done anywhere. Let me indicate that there are institutional bottlenecks, there are gaps in the system. The Ghana Book Development Council is still at birth, even though it has been in operation for about 4 decades. It is one of the 23 agencies under the Ministry of Education. Its mandate would have been to ensure that content that goes into publishing books are actually consistent with best practices, ethics, and standards in publishing, and also consistent with a certain Ghana book development policy, which does not exist as at now. But government has taken initiative to present a bill to Parliament seeking to give the necessary legal and policy framework to the Ghana Book Development Council so that it can find its feet and play that role of coordinating publishing of books. It is not NACA's job to be following content of books on the market. NACA's job is to ensure that books used in the classrooms are sanctioned by it. And so we want to call on the Ministry of Education and Parliament to expedite action on the Ghana Book Development Bill so that the Ghana Book Development Council will have the requisite muscles to coordinate and ensure compliance in respect of content of books that are on the market that may not be textbooks necessarily used in the classroom, but are still exposed for use by the ordinary Ghanaian.
Right. Thank you, Kofi. Well, this is a conversation that is certainly at its beginning, not its end, and so there will be more. Let's do some other stories. 3 families of the murdered Takrady girls are demanding the 2 convicts be killed on live television. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of a press conference earlier today, the sister of Ruth Love Quayson and the father of Priscilla Blessing Bintum said, even though they don't accept that their relatives are dead, they would appreciate it if the sentence given to Samuel Udatuk Wills and John Orji are carried out to the witness of everyone, since Udatuk has a record of escaping from lawful custody.
The same, I would say, a similar issue happened in the Bible with Joseph, when a brother sold him out, and they later told his mother that Joseph is there, but see what happened. So, nothing is impossible for our God, but we know that we think that the case has been, but with God, it's never delayed. So we still have a belief and hope that one day our girls will come back. You are making some demands. Yeah, because we were here when the first suspect, Samuel was in the police custody in the Takrady Central Police Station, and we heard of his escape. So now that they are telling us that they have sentenced them into death, we want the death sentence to be live on TV so that everyone will witness that these guys have been killed. We don't want it to be a situation that they will be in the police custody and later hearing that they escaped. So that's why we are saying that if truly they say the girls are dead and they've sentenced the guys to life in prison or dead, then they should be live for us to see that truly Samuel Rose and the so-called John are dead.
If really they believe that the DNA test conducted are really the girls, then they should give them a befitting burial. This is what I say.
Okay. But what you are saying contradicts the position of the family members. They are saying that their children are not dead. So once they are not dead, it means that they are there. It means that asking for a burial means that it's an acceptance that we won't see one.
I'm still standing on my feet on what I'm saying, that if the police think that the DNA conducted are that of the girls, then they should give them a befitting burial, a befitting funeral. Is it a funeral? Yes, a funeral, a befitting funeral. If the girls, if they really think that the girls are dead, the DNA test conducted are really the girls, and they think that they are dead, the state should give them a befitting funeral.
Yeah. Lokono abena nuko fura wosusu de wen ko fa ya yene mo fama no mamitiwa anyana abaka sir mamitiwa na asamna what kind of he said you know osim fama no akumpani team po oti na se chi no obaka dem for man we a na che wo no for no kunkun onye bubula mu wo de bende ka se wo kon mu ana abofo onye bubum nti ayende sabana akare mafoma wakidna pese okun kofunda ne sabana so pede anya abata ni bidi de oyendo kwade mafoma kofunda okun kofunda abane yin kofunda bi gina ho no nkoma anya na abata no yihu ansana senya abane ko beje dwa ya gedi na endem da no kanade.
Right, JoyNews has been on the story since 2018, and our correspondent Inathalia Kwansa has been with it from day one. She joins me now with more. Inathalia, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Kojo. Yeah, now public execution. That's what the three families are demanding. Help us understand why.
Well, Kojo, if we would all recall, when Samuel Udotek was arrested on the 22nd of December 2018 and was kept at the Takoradi police station. He escaped on the 30th of December. So this is the analysis made by the family. If he was able to escape from lawful custody, even with police presence, then what assurance do they have that this death sentence they have been given, they would serve it? So if government and then the police really want them to trust that these people have been sentenced to death, then they want it to be done for the public to see, for it to be telecast live. They want to see that indeed these people are sentenced to death, but not just leaving them in prison. That is not what they want.
Right.
So
now,
this is the basis of what they are saying.
Understood. Now, of course, Ghana has been sentencing people to death for many years, but they haven't actually executed anyone, carried out a sentence in decades. How do the families respond to that, or are they expecting an exception in their case?
Well, the family feel that in their case there should be an exception. One, given the track record of Samuel Udotek Wills, the first convict, being able to escape from lawful custody in prison, in police, they think that they should be given an exceptional case. And in this case, we are talking about 4 girls. So they feel that their case should be exceptional just for government to prove to them that indeed that sentence has been carried out. They don't trust that indeed they are in the custody of prison. And so for them to be reassured and convinced that indeed law has taken place, that is what they want. They want an exception.
Now, the families, except for one of them, are refusing to accept that their children are actually dead. So they don't actually accept the DNA test that the police have done. Have they had opportunity to independently verify those DNA results? Have they had the opportunity to take the remains with the police and compare them to some other DNA that they may have of their family members independently?
Okay, Kojo, so I'll answer your first question first. The family which has accepted the DNA results is that of the Crunches. That is the last of the girls who have been kidnapped, Priscilla Mantibia Crunche. His father, Alexander Kojo Crunche, on the day that they were sentenced, said that sitting through court from 2019 to the date, he thinks there is enough evidence to convince him that his daughter is dead. Kojo, let's remind our viewers that it was Priscilla Mantibia Crunche's scarf and dress which was found with Samuel Udotek Wills when he was rearrested, when he escaped from prison. There was also an evidence which was brought to court, which was Priscilla's mobile phone, which contained Priscilla's father's number on it. So he is convinced. And then with the other 3, they say that they have not even been able to have a copy of the DNA test which was done on the bones. They said that when they had demanded several times from the police, they had told them that they should go to court for it. But this is the argument they are making. They are saying that they came for their samples to go and run this test. They never told them that they should go to court before getting these samples, before they run the test. They do not believe in the DNA test which was conducted on the remains found. They also, at the press conference this morning, were pleading that if the public and international institutions could help them financially secure some money to do a private DNA test on the bones, they will be satisfied.
Right. Have they been given the remains of their daughters?
No, Kojo, they have been asked to go to court before the remains will be given to them. That's what the family is saying.
Now, this obviously has been a traumatic 2 years for these families. First of all, wondering whether their loved ones are alive, and then being told their loved ones are dead, and then sitting through a court case. Has the state provided any counseling or support for the families to help them deal with this continuing ordeal?
Yes, Kojo. So this morning in their press conference, this was one of the issues they did raise, that they've not received enough support in terms of the emotional stress they are going through. So they would want government to give them that support. And any well-meaning Ghanaian who thinks he can help or she can help them, overcome the emotions they are going through. The fact that you sit down one day, your daughter is kidnapped, the next minute you hear that your daughter is murdered and you don't even know where your daughter is. For Mr. Benton, for instance, he was telling me off record that sometimes he feels that he has relatives who have traveled outside the country. He doesn't hear from them. So he feels his daughter has also traveled and he's not hearing from him. But he believes that one day he will just be here and then these girls would appear. They don't believe in the DNA test. They've not been supported emotionally. That's according to them. They've not been supported emotionally. And they are calling for that support.
Right. Now, the first girl disappeared in August 2018. Then the remaining 3 in December. And all through this time, the families have complained about how their cases were handled. The first family were told not to go public about their missing daughter, not to seek help of the public in finding their daughter. The remaining families were told the same thing. And then, of course, at some point, they were told by the CID boss that we know where the children are. They were told by the gender minister that she had seen a video and the children were alive. Following all this, they were then told the children were dead after the police suddenly had the idea of checking the septic tanks of the home of the suspect. These family members feel that their case was not well handled. Are they considering any sort of legal redress?
Well, Kojo, I would want us to correct this. The first of the girls, Ruth Zabeka, was kidnapped on the 29th of July. And then the second on the 17th of August. Then subsequently, the 2 were kidnapped in December. For legal redress, they have not said it. But from the interviews with them when they were sentenced, they said they have a way of, also redressing their case. They would do that through prayers. So I tend to ask them, there has been prayers, there have been vigils, there have been fasting all through this case. What's new? What even gives them the confidence that this time around it will work? And then they told me that God is never too late to answer. They will still hold on and then wait upon their Lord. But for right now, what they need is financial assistance to conduct a separate DNA test.
Natalia, I want to thank you for that comprehensive update. And of course, this is a story that, it's not over. So we're certainly going to stick with it. We appreciate your updates there. Well, 4 families of these missing, believed to be dead children, with only prayers as redress. Right, let's take a moment and hear from our partners and sponsors. When we come back, even more on The Pulse. Stay with us. You're welcome back. There were not 1, but 2 Nigerian Afrobeat stars honored at the 63rd Grammy Awards when they were, of course, recognized for their hard work. Showbiz players in the world, the best of the best, the creme de la creme, met over the weekend. And Burna Boy and Wizkid both won awards at the 2021 Grammys. Burna Boy won Best Global Music Album while Wizkid won Best Music Video for his song with Beyoncé, Brown Skin Girl, from the Lion King, The Gift album. Just a little bit of the reason why Burna Boy is one of 2 African giants honored at the Grammys in 2021. We'll be talking more about this on Let's Talk Showbiz later this afternoon. Make sure you do not miss it. Those are some residents of Akachi in the Volta region who earlier today blocked the Accra-Aflao highway after a commercial vehicle hit a 10-year-old boy and a motorcycle Okada rider. Regional correspondent Ivy Setoji reports that the 2 sustained severe injuries after the Opel Irvan driver hit them. Some eyewitnesses who spoke to Joy News say it took 3 hours to transport those hurt to the nearest hospital. They are demanding the construction of a speed ramp to avoid more of such accidents.
Commander, you are doing your work. 100%. God bless you. But what we need is we need our ramp today. We are needing our ramp today. Commander, you can leave at any time. Our sisters are shouting for help. We see receive to come out.
Right now, though, former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Ivan Adai Mensah, has stated the level of corruption in the country, together with the perception of it, saddens him. According to the academic and one-time politician, who is a recipient of the Order of the Volta Award during the tenure of former President John Agyekum Kufuor, he gets very sad, especially when contemplating the fact that those charged with fighting corruption don't appear to have the support of the powers that be. Here he is, speaking further on that subject.
I get very sad, especially when you see that people who are attempting to fight the canker don't appear to, the perception is that they don't appear to have the support of the powers that be. I may be wrong, but I think that is the general perception among a lot of people in the country, that if you are seen to be someone who wants to fight corruption, then be careful you don't step on anybody's toes. I get very sad, especially when you see that people who are attempting to fight the canker don't appear to, the perception is that they don't appear to have the support of the powers that be. I may be wrong, but I think that is the general perception among a lot of people in the country, that if you are seen to be someone who wants to fight corruption, then be careful you don't step on anybody's toes.
Like maybe the former Auditor General would say, if you fight corruption will fight back at you.
I don't know much about his case, so I wouldn't venture to give any opinion, positive or negative, about it. But what worries me is the grounds upon which he was eventually made to step aside, being told to go on a very long leave, his nationality being questioned, his age being brought into question, not having the chance to publicly, give his side of the story, and then going on retirement. We all know what the situation with age in this country is concerned. Those of us who were lucky to have educated parents were lucky enough to have our births recorded by our parents properly. So we grew up knowing our age, and they were synchronous with the day on which we were born. If you were Kwame and you were born on 10th January 1942, you go to the internet and you will find that they synchronize. A lot of people are running around this country whose perceived birthdays don't synchronize with their days of birth.
Names and all that.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. So it's just a question of tracing back. Well, government knows best. There are things that they know that I may not know. So I will not venture to say much about it, but the perception in the public in general is that fighting corruption is not being done with candor.
Let's talk COVID-19, and I know you are very cautious, around these times, and rightfully so, justifiably so. Looking at what this disease has done to the entire world, to our country, to our people, what would you say has been your experience with it? Have you lost any friends on the back of COVID-19? Have you lost any people you love? And what role do you feel science is playing and should be playing in helping us defeat this pandemic?
Oh yes, I've lost some friends. I've also had friends who have contracted the disease. Some of the friends of my children have unfortunately passed on as a result of the disease. So I know. Moreover, my specialty in chemistry is medicinal chemistry. I've worked in faculties of pharmacy in Germany and in Nairobi. And I've served on the WHO Expert Committee on Medicines since 1986.
In fact, you've chaired a number of their meetings.
I've chaired a number of their meetings. So when I talk about drugs and vaccines and things, I know what I'm talking about. I would strongly advise that people should ignore all the conspiracy theories that are going around regarding these vaccines. Any vaccine that gives you 60% or more protection is worth trying, provided the side effects are not worse than the protection you get. Once we all get some semblance of protection, we can push this disease back to where it came from, and probably from the face of the earth. Every vaccine from its inception has problems. The smallpox vaccine, which incidentally apparently originated from West Africa. Some people say it was from Ghana, from the Gold Coast, from the slaves who went to America. It had its problems. I remember when we were school children and we were getting smallpox vaccination. The reactions we were getting, every schoolboy at that time, if you look at his left arm, you will see scars from this smallpox vaccination. But eventually smallpox has been eradicated. Yellow fever, the strain of the vaccine for which was also developed from a strain that was obtained from Kolebu during the days of Noguchi.
Right.
Has also been wiped out. Now, when you get a yellow fever vaccination. It used to be 5 years, then it went to 10 years, then 15 years. Now we are told that you get one jab and it's for life. So every vaccine from the onset has some problems. But once...
And especially when, on the back of COVID-19 and the deaths and how it was wreaking havoc across economies and countries, we had to hasten the process of creating vaccines.
Exactly. And this is a new type of vaccine. Most vaccines in the past have depended on the actual virus being deactivated, killed, and then that's what is injected into it. This one is using the technique we call messenger RNA. This is a messenger
mRNA.
A messenger of ribonucleic acid, which sends certain messages for the production of ribonucleic acid, for the eventual production of deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA. And that's what stimulates the body's immune system.
So I guess that is why some people are saying mistakenly that these vaccines are going to alter your DNA. Can you break it down for us to understand?
You know, it has nothing to do with the structure of your DNA. It just gives a certain message to your body's immune system, so that your body will react as if it has been invaded by some foreign entities. And then it fights against it, just like your immune system fights against many other diseases. So it has absolutely... The only thing is that there is a potential, because it's messenger RNA.
Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, recipient of the Order of the Volta, speaking to my colleague Benjamin Akapo. Now, residents of Guabolga in the northeast region say they are unable to farm this season due to the collapse of a dam in the community constructed under the government's One Village, One Dam initiative. The collapse of this dam, according to the residents, has left farmers frustrated and worsened their living conditions as the Harmattan intensifies. Now, these farmers have no source of water to cultivate their crops. The situation, the farmers added, has impacted food security as well as increased migration of the youth from the community to the south in search of jobs and other livelihood opportunities. Eliasu Tanko has been on it for us. Here's his report.
The Guabolga Dam broke its boundaries in September last year after several weeks of torrential rains across the region, which coincided with the spillage of the Bagre Dam in neighboring Burkina Faso. The collapse of the dam caused major damage to communities, properties, and public infrastructure, particularly roads and electricity facilities. The dam, until its destruction last year, the residents say had served as the only source of water for the community and its people, and had never suffered any breakdown until government contractors came to renovate it under the much talked about One Village, One Dam project. It's been months since the dam collapsed in the community, where subsistence farming is the economic mainstay. I asked the assemblyman about the impact of the situation.
The community was also blessed with a cashew plantation. We have about 67 acres of cashew plantation in Guabolga. Indeed, we are all relying on this water to, irrigate these plants as we move into the dry season. So we are so much devastated because of this collapse of the dam, because where are we getting the water? Because we're thinking that as it is collected here, we will fetch from here and water them. But now that it is gone, it means that we'll have to dig wells. And who knows? We don't know whether we will really get the water as expected. And as I said, about 67 acres of land is not an easy thing. And you need water to water all these things. We have about 40 seedlings in an acre. So you can imagine all these things.
The construction of small dams across communities of the 5 northern regions sought to provide all-year availability of water for smallholder farmers to bring about improvement in rural livelihoods, improve food security, and ultimately curtail the migration from the north to the south during the off-farm season. The assemblyman, however, said that the situation had led to over 40 people migrating from the community to look for jobs in the cities. He therefore called for the dam to be reconstructed to achieve the purpose of the one village, one dam, which has been exaggerated as a flamboyant policy to address basic needs of smallholder farmers in the north.
The people cannot sit alone. They need to do something and to manage life. So it will mean that they have to look for livelihood elsewhere. And that will mean that they have to move outside the community, which is impacted. Our animals will have to move to far places to get drinking water. And sometimes these animals are chanced by thieves and they carry them away. We are not also pleased that it happened that way, and I think he himself is also pleased. But what we are calling for is for us to have our dam once again.
The dam collapse also resulted in the destruction of food crops and farmlands. This farmer here had several hectares of his farm and rice crops lands washed away by the misfortune.
And more, I particularly, I don't know where to get food to eat in my family. And then I'm even better than some people. Some farm a large portion of acres and the water wash away the farm produce, especially corn, millet, and so forth. Rice farms, you can even see this is a rice farm. It washed away all the rice and even carried soil and dump in the farm. So where to get food to eat is a problem. So we are pleading if they can assist us to come and do the dump well, so that we can get dry season farming, so that our people will not go to serve to 12 for food.
The construction and renovation of small dams and dugouts under the Infrastructure for Poverty Eradication Program was being implemented by the Northern Development Authority. All attempts to speak to the NDA on the situation at Gwabluga were unsuccessful. Ilyasu Tanko reporting for JoyNews.
Right, now let's hear from the MCE for Wale Wale, Aremeyao Lucky Somo.
Very aware of the situation. You know, it happened when we have a lot of big rains last year. Then the dam was also under construction. So at the time we had those rains, it actually affected the construction of that dam, and that led to the spillage.
Okay, so the dam, you say, was under construction when this happened?
Yes. You know, we have about 2 dams or 3 dams at that place. We have the Gwabluga Dam that is under the one constituency, one district, one dam project. That is the one at Gwabluga. That was the one that was ongoing. But we have a dam that was constructed during Kwame Nkrumah regime. That is the Diana Dam. So the 2 of them simultaneously break down, and that led to the flood in 2020.
Are you suggesting then that the construction of the dam began in the rainy season?
No, please. It started before the rainy season. But you know, that area is a waterlogged area. So construction of dams in that area needs a lot of time. I think the contractor did his part very well, but he could not finish before the rain started. And that was, that caused the problem at that particular period. It is not that the contractor did not go. The contractor went, he started his work very well. But that place, we needed a lot of time to work on it so that will not cause, and we will not get more problems in the future. And you could see that even with the time that we took and other measures put in place, we still had the effect of it. So it was not a deliberate issue that the dam was not completed, but it needed more time.
Since it was not completed and it got destroyed, why haven't the contractors gone back to site?
Yes, well, after the issue happened, I personally called the contractors to come to office, and we start on the issue. So we were looking at a redesign of that project. And you know, it got to, what do they call it, December, when we went into the elections and came back. So now the Development Authority And then what they have been doing, some of the works have been held on. And that is maybe one of the reasons. But I have not spoken to the contractor for the past 1 month on that particular project. He might have had different reasons. But what he told me was that we have to really look at the design and see to it that we construct it and it will be useful for the people. Because we don't have to do something that we will start, we'll not get to a certain level, then when it comes, and then we'll be faced with these challenges that we have been facing now.
Now, back to Apam, where it's been a week since 13 teenagers drowned at the beach. Today, chiefs and people of Gumwa Achempim have begun performing rituals to the gods of Apam following the disaster. Now, the gods, according to the priests, are demanding 1 big cow, 3 sheep, 12 fowls, and 33 tubers of yam. These, they say, will pacify the gods and enable the rest of the bodies trapped at sea to be washed ashore. Richard Kwejonyakun has more. Here's his report.
The coastal town of Apam is still grieving. The town has been deflated. 13 teenagers have departed from them in a manner many can't come to terms with. The grounds are being prepared to bury all of them in one day, on Tuesday. Fetish priests and priestesses at Apam say they are done consulting the gods on what to do. 1 fat cow, 3 sheep, 12 fowls, 33 tubers of yam, and 3 cartons of schnapps are some of the demands the gods are alleged to have made. Queen Mother of Apam, Nana Esel Butwe, explains their consultation with the gods proved that they had been offended and needed to be pacified.
Baby, I'm afraid I'm crying. Now on yet bia or the wako.
The children were not supposed to go to where they went to swim. That's where the gods are. When we went there, you saw how the road to the place was. The beach and where the gods are is very far. So we needed to go and perform rituals to pacify the gods. It was successful. You saw how the gods received the first fowl. The essence of all that we are doing is to get disasters farther away from the people of Apam and the families of the teenagers as well.
Na ebusiana amufraba no ofrimun yede ni nyina reprapra ebusiano ho ama demo eyi otinda ato ye nkyem otindam bi amma biom.
The Queen Mother says she knows those who are Christians would frown on what they are doing, but the people believe in their customs and traditions. The Sumankwahin of Gumwa Chempim Traditional Council, Nana Okofo Anan, says the Traditional Council would issue a ban on swimming in the sea for people below age 18 as an interim measure.
Yeah, man, Colano, want me certain age.
Now we are not going to allow the kids to go near the sea again, children of certain ages. We are looking forward to the chief and the Queen Mother to ensure that people of certain ages do not go near the sea. We all saw what happened today during the performance of the rituals. For now, community folks at Apam have begun digging 13 graves for the 13 teenagers for the burial on Tuesday. From Apam, my name is Richard Kwejonyakun for JoyNews.
Now, let's talk about some interesting revelations made by the National Cybersecurity Center, NCSC, which suggest the students, celebrities, and media personalities are the most targeted victims of sexual crimes for the year 2020. Statistics collated by the center revealed more than 20,000 contacts were received, while 1,128 cases were established. Now, out of the cases, 171 were sexual offenses, with blackmailing taking a chunk. Head of the center and lead on the development of the Cybersecurity Act 2020, Dr. Albert Inchubwe-Siakun, says sexual blackmail is the second highest cybercrime in Ghana after online impersonation. Now, he spoke on Saturday's legal show, The Law. Here he is.
Of all the incident we received was online impersonation, so this is the second, actually, as far as the cases received by the center is concerned. This also excludes cases directly reported to the CID. Remember, Susam, many people do not also report some of these cases for reasons known to them.
Including the embarrassment and what is involved, where they may have gotten to already.
Good. And there were several people who were lucky to call earlier and sought guidance, actually, from the center, and that prevented that issue from happening. Let me also point out a particular issue with UNICEF. We work closely with UNICEF.
Okay.
Because when we examine the trend, a lot of children are involved. Our second cycle, students are mostly targeted, as victims. So we had to collaborate with them, raise awareness, and in 2019, I think we sensitized more than 40,000, students. But there is some interesting statistics also from the work of UNICEF. And it states that 7 out of 10 children have been exposed to sexual images, either online or any other platforms.
7 out of 10?
Exactly. These are the dangers that we face. Whilst we're promoting the use of internet digital platform for education, for entertainment, for recreation, I think there's a danger out there. And we needed to go strongly. But a lot of things have also happened within the space, in which certain people have been targeted, celebrities, journalists included, public official, for no reason. Innocent young women have been targeted. We needed to act as a country, to create some decency within, the cyberspace.
Now, Dr. Nchibwe indicates that the new Cybercrime Act has come at the right time to sanitize the internet of sexual offenses and hold culprits accountable. He warns that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
I think they got to be very careful. First of all, as you said, Simpson, ignorance of the law can never be an excuse in a court of law. That won't be entertained.
Right.
They need to, first of all, begin to understand that the platforms they promote are part of our collective digital well-being. I think it's good that collectively they're able to promote the activities. However, there are certain boundaries that they cannot exceed in terms of promoting certain sexual-related activities.
This is The Pulse, and we're not done. Coming up is a quick whip around from the world of sports.
Could you actually taking a bit of a water break? And I'm Gary Al Smith with the sport. About 2 hours ago, we brought you the news live from the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences that Ben Nuno-Mensah had been retained for another 4-year term in his job as boss of the Ghana Olympic Committee. Muftau brought us the live pictures from there. He interviewed Paul Achu, the losing candidates, and also was able to, bring us everything from there. Muftau, thank you again.
A pleasure.
So just a summary though, after we left you, after the cameras went off on sports today, what else happened? We had Ben Nuno-Mensah having a very unifying and conciliatory speech.
Yes, and I actually spoke to him on the sidelines after, and he also had other interesting comments to make. He described the elections or the victory he had as a tsunami because he felt that his opposition were rather relying on propaganda and lies to seek to confuse delegates to vote for them. But he felt that his records as head of the Ghana Olympic Committee for the last 4 years has been very evident, and they gave him the mandate to continue as head of the Olympic Committee for the next 4 years because of what he's done previously. One interesting thing, one conversation we will never do away with has always been how he led the Ghana Olympic Committee and Team Ghana to the 2018 Commonwealth Games, where we sort of had so many issues and people even describe it as denting the image of Ghana. He said the GOC had nothing to do with it. But I asked him what were the lessons learned from that episode we had in the Commonwealth Game and how that is going to impact his preparations for the Olympic Games come 2021, just June, July. And what he tells me was that, yes, in as much as there were flaws from what they did in 2018, he feels that they are a different body now. And he also feels that most lessons were learned because the image of the GOC was badly dented. and they need to recover that image going into the Olympic Games 2021.
Yes, it's not the only thing, though, that the GOC will have to contend with in terms of the job they need to do between now and 2025. They also have the Africa Games.
Yes, and when I asked him about the Africa Games, he basically reiterated the comments the minister made earlier when he came there. He also described it as a national project. He said that for Ghana to be successful in organizing the Games, it means that the Olympic Committee must be heavily involved. An Olympic committee must collaborate with government to ensure that there's a successful organization of the Games. So he basically reiterated the position of government in the Games and called on government to also help them fund the preparation of athletes for the 2023 African Games.
All right. So essentially, we know this is what has happened.
Yes.
People like Fred Achampong.
Yes.
We do know that he's a member of the Ghana
Football Association Executive Council.
Executive body as well.
Yes.
Now, I got a lot of this question on social media, yes. But kindly explain, how is it possible that one person is a member of the GFAEXCO and also part of the Ghana Olympic Committee? No conflict of interest?
No. There's basically no conflict of interest. If you look at the Ghana Olympic Committee, their mandate is to ensure that all Olympic participating institutions in the country are able to participate in Olympic Games. And Ghana, we know our under-23 participate in Olympic Games. So every year, there's that part of the football body that is supposed to be in there. In 2017, it was Madam Linia Adi who was voted onto that board of the Ghana Olympic Committee. And this year is Fred Achampong. He won the race, beating Estelfi, which was quite surprising because many people have said that Estelfi is one of the most experienced persons within the Ghana Olympic Committee. So for Fred Achampong to beat him was quite interesting, but there's no conflict of interest or there's nothing conflicting about having someone from the football space also being in the at the Ghana Olympic Committee.
As we wrap up though, elections give us a certain trend.
Yes.
What does this election tell us? Or what do these elections tell us about what the belief in Benunu Mensah is, yes. The messaging from his camp, and then the other candidates?
Yeah.
Does it mean then that they believe he's doing the right thing, or it was just a game of politics and he played it well, he and his team played it well?
I think he's a master politics player. He played his game so well that people who believed in his vision also played their cards so well and threw their weight behind him. But one thing I noticed at the Congress ground was my interaction with people within the space. And you would notice that the body is totally divided.
Oh.
If I am Benunu Mensah, one thing I would do is to bring everyone on board. And I asked him that question. He said he is one man who will rely on every resource person he thinks can help Ghana sports. So I think that that's one area he should go. Because you are looking at a group of people who believe in the vision of Richard Akwakavi, and there were others who believe in that of Benunu Mensah. And it is too bad that some of the comments passed were not good enough. So I think that the GOC must be united for them to achieve the objective of organizing Ghana to participate in Olympic Games.
Nice one. Mustafa, thank you very much.
A pleasure to be here.
He was our correspondent at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, the venue for today's GOC Congress and then the GOC elections, actually. Very interesting that Benunu Mensah was given another 4-year term, beating Richard Akpokovi. A slew of names fell and a slew of names also made it. You can find all the detailed list on myjoyonline.com. We've put detailed reports there as well. In subsequent bulletins, we will hear from the various stakeholders. I'm Gary Al Smith, and that is their sport for now.
Well, this has been fantastic, but it's not over. In the meantime, though, you know where to go if you want the absolute latest news stories, including this one. I'm Speaker for Ghana, not NDC, Bagbin tells Sami Jenfi. Okujeto Ablakwa requests Education Minister to explain offensive overt textbooks in Parliament. Apam drownings, chief appease angry gods. Telecom workers start strike today. That also is on myjoyonline.com. What else is there? Go and find out for yourself.